What's doing, everybody? I'm Alec. Thank you for watching First Class Fatherhood. Today's guest on the podcast is magician Justin Willman. Justin Willman is the star of Netflix's Magic for Humans. He's got a brand new holiday special starting tomorrow, December 19th. Magic for Humans at Home. It's a virtual experience. If there are any tickets available, the link is in the description down below. Tap the link and you can get over there and check it out. While you're down there, hit the subscribe button, tap the like, and let's jump into it right now with magician and first-class father, Justin Willman, on First Class Fatherhood. Joining me now, first-class father, Justin Willman. Welcome to First Class Fatherhood.
Honored to be here. Thank you so much.
All
Thanks
right,
for recognizing my class, our fellow first-classmen.
Yeah, well, how many kids do you have? How old?
I've just got one, so I'm literally in my first class as a father. He's 2, Jackson.
Okay, very cool. Now, did you guys do any kind of magic trick to find out what you were having? Any kind of gender reveal, or did you wait to the end to find out?
I let the doctor do that magic trick. He revealed it. No big pomp and circumstance. We found out. We prepared. We were very excited. And now he's my boy to exploit in my magic. I throw this kid in every show I can. He's free.
Well, I'll tell you what, how they get here is all magic and a miracle to me to begin with. So it's a pretty cool experience. If you could, Justin, please just take a minute here to hit my listeners with a little bit about your background and what you do.
All right, listeners. So I am a magician. If you're watching on video, you're like, this guy doesn't look like a magician. He looks like an out-of-work Jonas brother. Well, you'd be right. Listeners, that's what I look like. But I've been doing magic since I was 12 years old. Kind of started combining magic and comedy when I was in college, and have a show on Netflix called Magic for Humans. We've got 3 seasons out. I'm very proud of it. It's a lot of fun, and it's a show where we kind of dig deep into what it means to be a human. What is it that makes us all, connected? And we do it in, I think, a pretty fun, mind-blowing way. This year has been an interesting year, full of challenges for everybody, especially as a magician. You can imagine somebody whose art form relies on out in the world, all up in people's faces. I've had to figure out a way to adapt. And I've been doing these Magic for Humans at Home shows on Zoom for the past couple months. And it's been an incredible, cathartic, heartwarming thing when you have all these families all over the world tuning in with their kids. And they're all kind of just so excited to have something to do. I feel like especially something that you can do as a family. So it's been amazing for me and my family to be able to connect with all these families that otherwise I wouldn't be able to tour all these places. So it's been kind of inspiring to be able to find hope and wonder amidst the crummy year we're all in.
Yeah, very cool, Justin. Yeah, we've all had to adapt to this and find new ways, which has made us get innovative. It's made us create new ways of putting out material. It's been a little bit of a silver lining for me, as a lot of people became available for interviews because everybody's plans got canceled during this shutdown. So, and plus, a lot of families got a chance to spend more time together. So there was a little bit of some silver lining in the middle of all this. So 2 years into the game here, how would you say that fatherhood changed your perspective on life?
I mean, it's changed everything. I think listen, as a performer, what I do for a living can feel like kind of obviously it's about sharing joy with other people, but it's kind of your product is yourself. So you can kind of feel like it's a little bit of a selfish endeavor, but it's added, getting married added this one new layer of richness about we're kind of building the foundation. We're working hard for a family, and now that we've got this little dude, and it's exciting to work for more than just singular personal gain. You're kind of building this future, and obviously when you've got a 2-year-old and he's our first, you're seeing everything through his eyes again for the first time, which as a magician is very, very helpful, because I'm always looking for inspiration. And I think inspiration comes from noticing these little details that other people take for granted. Early in quarantine, I tried to teach my son how to solve a Rubik's Cube. So I got him a baby-sized Rubik's Cube, not thinking that his hands are too small to really do the twisting. And what I noticed, is that he just ends up taking it and puts it in his mouth. So I got inspired by that. So if you're listening and not watching this, I'm about to put this tiny Rubik's Cube in my mouth. And there we go. It doesn't take long. You can actually solve that thing with your tongue. Now that's not a COVID safe trick. So that's why it's perfect on a podcast. I'll put that down. But but yeah, getting to see the things that catch his eye then remind me of like, oh yeah, that is pretty cool. The stuff that the sounds, the things, the flickers, the things that we all take for granted, you really get to discover again as a parent. It's beautiful.
Yeah, very well said. Yeah, it's awesome to see the joy, the wonder in their eyes when they see something new. It's very, very simple sometimes to shock them with some of the basics, and it's awesome. And what about yourself then, Justin? When did you become interested in magic, and then when did you decide to pursue that as a career?
I was 12. I was riding my bike when I was well, this is a stupid accident. I was riding my bike while also wearing rollerblades. Fell off, broke both of my arms, was in casts for 6 months. My doctor recommended I learn card tricks as physical therapy. That's how I got into magic in the first place. And then I became obsessed. And, if anybody out there is a parent of a kid that age, when you're 12, like you are this malleable, like very much, you have the attention span to learn, to go deep dive into something. If I had found magic any younger, I would have been like, okay, this is cool. Nah, I'm done with that. Move on. But I actually just dove headfirst into this art form and started doing kids' birthday parties and competing in competitions all throughout junior high and high school. And, it's the only job I've ever had now. And what's this, 28 years later? God, I hope I don't have to get a real job. I think it'll work out for me. But that's how I got into it. And I'm not forcing my son to follow in my footsteps, but I have tried to include him in a bunch of magic bits. He doesn't grasp the idea that you're not supposed to reveal the secret. So as I try to teach him magic tricks, his favorite thing is to pull out the secret thing and show it to the camera, which is very funny and adorable. So we're working on it. Work in progress.
Yeah, you can't give up the goat there on, in the middle of the show. What
Exactly.
about for the parents out there that have kids, Justin, on that? Like, what about the parents that have kids that are interested in pursuing a magic career? It's something that they're passionate about. It's a new age for all this stuff to be going on. So what route would you say for the parents to steer the kids that do have that interest?
And this year, I find a silver lining is the fact that since we're all home, obviously you get all this quality time, but I feel like you have a chance to finally do some of these hobbies and pursuits that you just didn't have the time to deep dive into back in the normal world. So it's a perfect time to pursue magic for kids or for, I mean, you're running out of things to entertain your kids with. Magic is the way to go. I actually made a magic kit because it's one of my to-do lists. I was like, magic kits are mostly crap. I was like, I want to make a good magic kit where I personally teach all the tricks. So I made the social distancing magician starter kit to raise money for COVID relief. And it's incredible seeing like the videos that parents share of their kids doing magic. It builds confidence, it builds self-esteem, it builds, obviously it's great for learning and focus, but it really can bring a kid's personality out. Like I was not an extrovert before I discovered magic, and it kind of gave me this medium to kind of flourish and blossom. And whether you stick with magic for the long run or not, I think it's a great, part of a kid's foundation.
Where can the listeners pick those up, Justin? On your website or Amazon, or where do they go?
On my website, justinwillman.com. You can pick those up. I came out with a part 2 because people were loving it. It's been really fun. It's kind of, it's really cool to think that you might be inspiring the next generation.
Yeah, very cool. I'll definitely drop the link to that in the description of this podcast episode. What would you say, Justin, are the top values that you're hoping to instill in your kid growing up here?
Well, I would say my wife and I very much are trying to instill open-mindedness, honesty, and just love and acceptance. I mean, we really, very much are taking the best parts of, my wife and I both have amazing parents, and we're trying to take the best parts of the values that were instilled in us from them. And, from when we were raised to now, the world has changed a lot. So we're trying, both of us, and we kind of have the same morals and ethics to add to that, to supplement that. So I think it's really about open-mindedness, working hard, but just following your passion. I mean, luckily, my wife's an interior designer. I'm a magician. We're certainly not going to be like helicopter parenting him to become a doctor or a lawyer, So like my dad was an airline pilot, my grandpa an airline pilot. So I felt the pressure to follow in their footsteps, and I had no interest. But I'm excited to see what this little dude does. It'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, very cool, Justin. And you have a special coming out here. Trying to get here. Magic for Humans at Home. What can you tell listeners about that, and where can they go to check that out when it drops?
Yeah, like I had to cancel a tour right at the beginning of this year when all this chaos started happening. And as a magician, I think I took for granted how much my own emotional and mental well-being relies on performing, being on stage, making people happy, that change of energy, like it kind of is important to me. And I was trying to figure out how to overcome that. How do we pivot? I still kind of quench that thirst and share that with the people. So created the show Magic for Humans at Home, and it's basically a Zoom version of the Netflix show, but it all happens live and it's super interactive. We'll have 1,000 families from all over the world, and I'm dipping into people's living room. We're blowing their minds. Like it's kind of a cathartic, heartwarming, live, in-person event. It really does feel intimate and almost maybe more intimate than seeing me live when you're kind of, 20 rows back. Now it's like everybody gets a front row seat. So people can get tickets to the holiday show, which weekend before Christmas at magicforzoom.com. I'm so excited.
Yeah, awesome. I'm also going to drop the link for that for sure, so my listeners can get over there, check it out. I would encourage them to do so and check it out with their kids. I'm going to do so myself. It sounds like a fun experience. Now you're going into the 2-year-olds here. I know the stage when they're trying to put them down to bed. What does your bedtime routine look like over there? Are you a storyteller, a book reader, a lullaby guy? How does bedtime work in your house?
Well, it's funny, the greatest gift of this lousy year is the fact that my wife and I've been able to tuck him in for bed every night. Normally I'm always traveling and, I maybe make it home for bedtime once or twice a week. We've had, 7 nights a week, every week this entire year. It's amazing. I take the lead. I sing my toothbrushing song. It's time to brush teeth. We get the teeth brushed. We get the PJs on, and then my wife and I take turns with the storytelling. She is actually much better than me. She makes him laugh. She makes him giggle. I think the greatest, showmanship lesson as a parent is figuring out a way to read the same book every night, but make it feel different night after night. And when you get that chuckle, you're like, all right, he's heard this story 100 times. I must be doing something fun, bringing flavor to it. We pretty much 3-4 stories and we're done. We're off to the races. Obviously now it's that 2-year-old kind of just so adorable when you get the nights and you get the kiss on the cheek. I know it's not going to be that sweet and cuddly for much longer, trying to enjoy every little hug.
Yeah, my is 6. I'm at the last stage of still reading. She loves to still get the book read to her at night. And it's at the 4th child, you're reading these same books for a long time now. So you're doing from memory almost just about. But I will definitely miss it when it goes. So I'm definitely trying to stay in you. So
you got any book tip for me? You got a hot book tip for me?
You know what's very popular? There's a Mr. Men and a Mr. Little Miss series that Roger Hargraves has, and it's really phenomenal. I got the big book set. There's like 32 of the men and 30 of the Little Miss, and they're phenomenal. They cover all different types of things: Mr. Small, Mr. Big, Mr. Lazy, Mr. Sneezy, all these different kinds. And it's always fun to go through them, and my kids have always enjoyed them. So they're quick hitters too. They're not very complicated to read. So yeah.
It's funny. It's like I have my preferences. Sometimes I'm like, come on, between these two, which one do you want? Because some of them are just much better written. But then there's these kind of like CVS knockoff books where you're like, somebody spent 10 minutes writing this book. It's crap, but the cover is enticing.
Right.
I'm like, all right, we're going to read this book that has poor sentence structure. It's filled with typos, whatever. Let's do it. There's nothing like a good book that you enjoy reading as a parent, as much as they enjoy hearing it.
Definitely. And talking about magic, you guys plan on making the magic happen here for another child? You guys all done with one and done?
Oh no, we're going to work on an encore for you. Got to get ready for the big performance, But yeah, that's in the cards.
Very cool. Well, I know it's been a crazy year. We've all had to adapt and stuff like that. You've had a lot of success with the Netflix and with what you're doing. What kind of goals or plans do you have for yourself here? Where are you taking this in the future?
Well, I feel like the lessons I've learned about being present and in the moment as a parent, when stuff goes back to normal, I really want to make sure that I check myself and not just going back into the old pattern, the old routine, because there really is, although, it was 1.5 when all this started, he's not going to remember all this quality, amazing time he had with mom and dad, but it's going to be in there, and he'll feel the difference goes, back to like, oh, wow, everyone's back to work and I don't see dad as much. So I just want to maintain the high quality level of fatherhood and connection that we have going forward, no matter what happens career-wise, etc. And I think my wife would agree. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, very cool. And on that, the last thing I'm going to hit you with here, you may touch on a little bit there, but I'd love to ask all the dads that I get on the podcast here, what type of advice do you have for that new dad or for that about-to-be father who's out there listening?
Oh, man, because I remember being that about-to-be father and that new dad, and you're freaking out a little bit. I think somebody told me, dude, just trust yourself. It's all going to be okay. You'll figure everything out when you need to, because I tend to get ahead of myself, and I'm like, wait, well, what do I do when that happens? Okay, what when he's crawling? What about this? What? And I think you'd agree. You're just going to stress yourself out. Take every day one day at a time. Be in the moment. Be present. Be willing to be wrong and to learn. And you're going to be just fine.
Yeah, very well said. I love the message. It's been an honor to have you on the podcast here. Justin Willman, you're a first-class father all the way. The link to the Magic special for Christmas is in the description of today's podcast episode. And thank you for giving me a few minutes of your time here on First Class Fatherhood.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.